Alright, let me make this abundantly clear for you Negroes. I have no problem whatsoever with you featherhead, copperhead Negroes, alright? I know I've made fun of y'all in the past. Us copperhead, massa? Well, listen, I'm willing to meet you halfway.
Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. And if you're new here, hey boo, hey, my name's Achila Yona. I'm an author, genealogist, and researcher. I help everyday ordinary people become masters of their family ancestry tree. So if that's something you're interested in, be sure to subscribe to my channel and click the all notifications bell button to get notified when I go live and when I upload new content. And before I dive right into this video, I want to talk a little bit about paper genocide and racial identifications because this topic is often overlooked. And no matter how many times I talk about this in my videos, it seems that it's still not clicking for a lot of people, or you're just probably new to this channel and you have no idea what paper genocide is. So let me break it down for y'all guys. Paper genocide is the act of reclassifying an indigenous person from that landmass as a different race. So for example, as an Aboriginal American, because if you don't know, I'm Aboriginal American. So now you know. Okay, so when it comes to our history, when the colonizers came over here, they were reclassifying our ancestral names as something completely different because they cannot pronounce our nation's name in our mother tongue. They said, we can't pronounce that. We don't speak y'all language. So we just going to give y'all a new name. Deal with it. And of course, when slavery kicked in, they used that as an opportunity to reclassify Aboriginal Americans and write us as a different race. And a lot of people are unaware that colonizers use terms like Black and Negro to justify enslaving people. So oftentimes there are descendants of Aboriginal Americans who are trying to verify and prove, quote unquote, their ancestry, but yet they can't because their ancestor was also reclassified as a different race. And it sucks. It's something that is seldom talked about. A lot of people don't understand. And a lot of people think that, oh, well, if the white man classified you as Black, then that means you were Black. So you just have to deal with it. And that cannot be any further from the truth. And also, since I mentioned the quote unquote white man, I want to talk about the hypocrisy and how when the truth is revealed, people love to move the goalposts. Because any other time, people love to speak out against the racist policies pale people have enforced upon you melanated people. And they say, oh, it's not right. Them enslaving and colonizing the world is wrong, and so on and so forth. But when Aboriginal Americans of darker hue is mentioned, now all of a sudden, the white man, the pale man, is justified for reclassifying us out of history due to the simple fact that he's a colonizer and he sees brown-skinned people all the same, meaning he sees brown-skinned people all as Black. So therefore, we should just deal with it and shut up. And this is exactly why my channel exists, because this type of thinking needs to be eradicated. It needs to have pushback, or otherwise we're going to continue to have to deal with brown-skinned people of different ethnic backgrounds thinking that it's okay to have a colonizer mindset when it comes to other brown-skinned people. And this is an issue many people do not want to address. Because see, people think that talking about the issue is the problem, and that's not the problem. Not discussing the problem is the problem. Not acknowledging that there is a problem is the problem. Okay? So a lot of times people just like to run to my comment section and say, oh, it doesn't matter. We just need to have unity, unity, unity. Unity does not matter when you don't respect the people you're trying to have unity with. I'm pretty sure by how this man is talking, he is the same type of people who will come around to Aboriginal American spaces talking about how we need to have unity, we all need to come together, but we have to identify as Black in order to do it. And if we don't, we're self-hating, we're coons, and we're this and that. And it's quite crazy that you think that you're going to gain some type of respect from Aboriginal Americans when you continue to disrespect us in the cultures that we come from. Because whether people want to acknowledge it or not, we did not create the terms Black, colored, Negro to call ourselves. We had our own languages, our own cultures, and our own customs. And I really want people to drill that through their big, juicy brain. Just because pale Europeans came over to the Americas and colonized the mess out of it, and renaming everything, reclassifying everything in their language, and telling us this is how we need to act and be, doesn't mean that we have to do what they say. It does not mean we have to follow their ways. Because any other time, people love to talk about how Black women are whitewashed. They want to be white women. Any other time, people talk about how, Black people are so whitewashed and they want to be white. But when it comes to us reconnecting with our indigenous heritage, now all of a sudden we need to follow the white man ways because he knows what to do. People don't even know that they're still colonized in their minds, but yet they're calling themselves FBA, Black and African American, thinking that they know everything. Let me tell you something. You melanated people, whether they claim to be Aboriginal Australian, Indigenous African, Indigenous European, Indigenous American, Indigenous South American, Indigenous Caribbean, whatever. You melanated people are all over the world, and we were here first. So why is it that people think that they can come to other people's homeland, particularly in this case, you melanated Indigenous American, Aboriginal American homelands, and tell us who we need to be in order to be accepted by them? If you don't like us, you can go home. And I know a lot of y'all guys are like, no, Yona, don't say that. There's Black people that are indigenous and they just don't know their ancestry. Well, my patience has run thin. Too many people think that they can talk to Aboriginal Americans crazy and think that we're going to be there to save them and help them. And that's just not the case anymore. Our ancestors bent over backwards to help people in their situations. And a lot of people don't know this, but Aboriginal Americans, we were running the Underground Railroad. We were showing people the way to safety. Our ancestors were risking their safety, their freedom, their family's freedom to make sure that the little Africans that did come over here to the United States as slaves were able to get out and get away from their abusers. So I would not apologize for, quote unquote, being in my feelings when it comes to topics like this, because our ancestors suffered greatly and we're suffering the consequences of our ancestors helping people who were selfish and straight up ignorant. And this is why it's so important to learn American history. And this is why I even wrote my book, Discovering American Genealogy. Everything I'm talking about, I wrote in my book. And I wrote in my book about paper genocide, about slavery, and about genealogy, because too many people, like this man here, wants to push the narrative that you melanated Aboriginal Americans don't know what we're talking about, and we're just claiming a race because we quote unquote hate ourselves. And we should look to the pale natives for acceptance, which is bull crap. It's bull crap. So I'm just going to go ahead and show y'all like these videos I have compiled together, because I'm going to show y'all this ignorant man and what he had to say. And then I'm going to show y'all videos of natives talking about Afro Indigenous people. And I also have a clip of a Hispanic Mexican woman talking about who the real original people are. Since, this guy says that we should talk to the pale natives, let's see what they have to say. Okay. And some of these clips I have already discussed in my past videos, which I will link the videos down in the description box below. But yeah, I'm going to shut my trap and let y'all watch the clips, and I will come back with further commentary.
All right, let me make this abundantly clear for you Negroes. I have no problem whatsoever with you featherhead, copperhead Negroes, all right? I know I've made fun of y'all in the past. Us copperhead, massa. But listen, I'm willing to meet you halfway. If you don't want to claim Africa and your African ancestors, that's cool. If you feel like that not all black people came from Africa, that's cool. Have no issue with that. If you claim to be the indigenous people on this land, that's fine. But you might need to take this up with the real indigenous people of this land. I'm just saying.
So Afro Indigenous people exist, and we're going to keep going over this. Afro Indigenous people are here. They've always been here, and they're not going anywhere. Afro Indigenous people, especially on this app, but in life also, are being treated worse than any other group of people by our people. Which, by the way, Afro Indigenous people, they're our relatives too. Don't let your traumas get in the way of mending bonds that were broken due to colonization. That's what the colonizers want you to do. Stop it.
Use this sound to show off your nose.
So, the other day I was on a live with Laura and Roxy here on TikTok. I'll go ahead and tag them in the comments. Unfortunately, and Laura can better explain this in her videos, it was kind of cut short immediately. The intent was, Laura, at least from what I understand, wanted to have more Afro-Indigenous people be spoken up for during Black History Month on our platform. A topic that Roxy had brought up was that it's funny how when it comes to mixed white people, mixed Native and white people, that everyone talks about like how they look Native to me, and they always talk about their Native features and stuff like this. But when it comes to Afro Natives, for some reason, when they're mixed with Black, you just can't see anything Native about them. Like, you can't click in your head any kind of features that would qualify them as Native whatsoever. And when she was talking about this, I thought about this creator, who I'm also going to tag, and I thought about this video specifically. Because looking at him, if you were to look at him objectively and look at his phenotype, he has Native features. Like, you're going to seriously sit there with your whole head ass and tell me that is not an indigenous nose? Those are not indigenous lips? Seriously? And I realize not everyone in the Native community is like this, but especially when it comes to Native TikTok and like the whole conversation, Tamale Wars and all those jokes, whatever. It's so funny how these conversations about validating you and phenotype and your racial purity and your blood quantum and all this stuff, whatever, It's so funny how so many times it's mestizos or people who would be qualified as mestizos who are so insistent on we look at their indigenous phenotype, we can see their indigenous features, that we're denying them their indigenous heritage even though they look indigenous whatever, but yet they will never acknowledge Afro Indigenous people. If his skin was slightly lighter and he had bone straight hair, you wouldn't question for a second if he was indigenous. But because he's dark and because he has a strong curl type, you only see him as black and you can't see him as anything else. We need to understand the ideas that our colonial societies have of race and native.
The inhabitants, the original indigenous inhabitants of this planet, planet Earth, the original Terrans, are the black people. Not African people, I'm saying the black people. We have been lied, folks. We have been duped, believing that the way that the Africans came over to America was through a ship, through the Atlantic Ocean, okay? And they were brought in from Africa as slaves. They were brought in, you know, from Africa to Haiti and all these other places as slaves, right? Well, that's completely false. The Olmec head has always baffled me because I thought, wow, the Olmec head, he looks very African. Well, of course.
Alrighty, so y'all have watched those videos. And before I move on to further commentary, I want to make a couple of things very freaking clear. Because some of y'all are a little slow. Be doing those mental gymnastics and be moving the goalposts in my comment section. All right. So let me break it down for some of y'all. Okay. Number one, not all Aboriginal Americans claim to be black. Okay. And I know y'all going to be in my comment section saying, but y'all know we're not black. I know, baby. I know, baby. I know. Okay. However, these people have been accustomed and trained to call any and everybody who has a little melanin in their skin black. Okay? This is nothing new. All right? Number two, I did not show those videos of the natives and that Hispanic Mexican woman to verify and validate the claims of Aboriginal Americans' ancestry. I showed y'all guys these videos as a response to what he had to say about Aboriginal Americans. So I don't want to hear nothing in the comment section saying, but Yona, this doesn't prove anything. Them saying black people are in here doesn't prove anything. I didn't say it was supposed to, you dumb heifer. Learn to listen to comprehend and not listen to respond. Now, since that has been said, we're moving on. A lot of black people, and I'm using the term black loosely here, so if you don't claim to be black, I'm not talking about you. But a lot of black people are unfamiliar and do not know their ancestral origins for a multitude of reasons, but a lot of them would just chalk it up to it being slavery. When in reality, you have people like Merskowitz and France Boas creating programs, brainwashing your favorite black leaders, telling them that every brown-skinned person in America comes from Africa. We're all African. Everybody comes from Africa. And a lot of y'all think that these African studies were created by people that look like you. And that's just not the truth, sweetheart. And this is why it's so important to learn history and learn why people push the narratives that they do. Because in the early 1900s and before, a lot of black people knew that they had Aboriginal American ancestry and did not deny it. But it wasn't until these African studies programs that were created by pale people started to come into the mix. And then you had the whole I'm black and I'm proud thing coming into the mix, and the whole Pan-Africanism and everything else coming into the mix, creating more confusion and adding more division into the mix. Because people act like, oh, you're not claiming to be black. You're feeding into the division. Actually, you are, sweetheart. Because the white man told you that you're black and you the one that ran with it. The white man is the one that created the African Studies program that a lot of y'all like to harp about, that your favorite black leaders created, but actually it was a pale man that did. Or the pale man helped them do it. So in reality, a lot of people don't know history. They don't know the background of the things that they get into. And then they come out into the real world and start talking to people. And it's like, hold on, sweetheart, you don't even know. You think you know, but you don't know. Like, you need to take baby steps before you can run. Actually, you know what? Maybe you need to crawl before you can even walk. How about that? Because listen, I just refuse to let people play in my face when it comes to historical truth. Like, there's so much information out there. There's no reason to be this ignorant. Like, people are really playing in our faces. Okay? And let me tell you the three groups that are doing it the most. You got the African Americans, Black Americans, FBA, pro-blacks, Pan-Africanists, whatever they call themselves nowadays. Because it seems like every group known to man got 1,000 names to call themselves as. Okay, you got them over here. Don't know who they are. Don't know who their fifth great grandparents are. Don't know where they descend from, but trying to tell the next person where they come from. And if they don't want to accept what they're trying to push onto them, then they're self-hating coons who don't want to claim to be African. Then we got these crusty, dusty, rusty ass natives in the other corner who don't want to share the wealth with darker skinned Aboriginal Americans for whatever reason, which we could probably guess they're greedy as hell. They don't want to do the right thing. But some of them will admit that Aboriginal Americans been here, but they can't say too much because they don't want to lose their tribal status and they don't want to share the wealth that is given to them from the United States government that they were supposed to give to us per the treaties that they signed with the government. And then the one that somehow slips underneath the crack, pale people. Pale people. The ones that started it all. The ones that started the blood quantum policy, that started the one drop rule. Somehow people totally forget about them and don't mention them. And they run right past to other brown-skinned people to harass and degrade when they need to be addressing these pale folks here. Okay? Because let me tell y'all something. Let me tell y'all what I noticed about pale people. Pale people will play dumb. They play dumb so good, and that's why they are master manipulators. They pretend they ass out. They pretend like they don't know what's going on. They be like, I have no idea. I have no idea what's going on. Oh my God. Why are people fighting? Why are people arguing? Why are you mad at me? I don't know. When they do know. Them heifers know. Their ancestors are the ones that enforced and implemented these racist policies against minorities in general, people in general. And yet they acting so obtuse and oblivious. They're like, I don't know. Just stop talking about it. Oh my God. I have to change the history books because I don't want, I just feel so guilty. Oh my God. But at the same time, they don't know. Well, if you don't know, then how you going to feel guilty if you don't know? Your ancestors implemented these policies. And you going to say, oh, well, these policies don't exist no more. Let's all move on, when you're still upholding these policies. If you come across a brown person and you call them black because they're brown, you implementing those racist policies and you're continuing to uphold them. I don't care if you got mixed kids. I don't even care if you married to a so-called black person. You still uphold those racist ass policies. Because pale people will always group every brown-skinned people together. They were even in East India calling them the N-word. They came over to America calling us the N-word. We were in Africa calling them the N-word. Like we all the same. So quite frankly, these three groups of people are getting on my damn nerves. And I'm not saying all people in these groups of people that I mentioned are evil and just messed up. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, as an Aboriginal American, it's hard for me to accept anybody, quote unquote, unity when they still talk to us and treat us any kind of way. You have to see it from my perspective, because we're going to use common sense on my channel. We're not just going to sit here and just go off vibes and feelings. No, we're going to go off historical evidence. We're going to go off historical truth. We're going to look at those genealogy documents and go from there. But yet people rather go off of vibes and what they see, and let that be the determining factor on how they think and how they move and how they act. Shoot, and some Aboriginal people ain't even exempt from this conversation either, because they could just be just as worse. Just as worse. Each group of people have their own hardships and their own things to deal with. But let me tell y'all something. People need to learn how to come correct. There's tons of information out there. Google it, y'all. Google is a search engine that leads you to sources and resources that can help you look for the things that you're searching for. People be having a whole computer in their hand and choosing to be ignorant, and then get mad when people put their foot off in their ass and cuss their ass out. Talking about, well, I didn't know. Well, you know now. Stop being ignorant and learn. There's no perfect group of people. Just learn. Just learn to do better and be better. Learn how to be a better person. I don't get on here and teach history, tell people about history because I want to hurt people, demean people, degrade people. No, I talk about these things because this is the story of my people. These are the things that we've been through. And it's time for us to share our stories. It's time for us to tell our truth. And I just won't go for people trying to silence us out of speaking about our existence, about our experiences. I just can't. I just won't allow it. I just won't allow it. But let me know what y'all guys think in the comment section. I know some of y'all gonna be like, dang, Yana, you were very mean. You're very anti. But honestly, I just don't care. I don't care about people who don't care about people they're trying to recruit. Because don't recruit me about no damn unity. Don't recruit me about we all need to come together when you can't even respect the culture that I come from. And I just don't know about people. I just don't know. I don't know. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Thank y'all guys for watching. Until the next time, bye.